the pictures were very creatively gathered, I think. So over to you guys.
Thank you, Chair. Hopefully Joe will be able to bring the presentation up very shortly. I would actually, a bit of a disclaimer for those pictures, none of those photos are buildings in Waipa. I just want to reassure everyone that they are not local. Apologies from Leanne, who is sick today, so I'm afraid you've got the gruesome twosome and me. So yeah, this is the that's helpful, thank you, Jim. The dangerous, affected and insanitary buildings policy, which is, to be fair, not one of our biggest. Okay, thank you. Right, and the purpose of this workshop is to consider some changes. We are currently reviewing this policy, as we are required to do. As I say, it's not a particularly big one, but it is one that we're legally required to have. So if there are any other further policy amendments that either occur to us as we're going through it, or you've got any questions and they happen to make us think that, oh yeah, we need to make further amendments, then this is the time to work on those. Is there any chance, Joe, that this is going to? Thank you.
Here we go. We're away.
Right. So this is required under the Building Act. We've got to have one of these policies. And if we want to amend it or replace it, I'm afraid it is a special consultative procedure that we need to go through. As I say, we are reviewing it at the moment. It's a 2017 policy, so we are by the time we complete it, will be more than 5 years, but we'll say it's under review, so we're okay. The existing policy does continue while we are reviewing it. And just to mention that although it was originally a dangerous and insanitary buildings, affected buildings were included later on. There's a very good example of an affected building in one of the photos. And that looks more like a movie set from a horror set. We're principally just providing more detail in the policy that we've got, providing more explanation as to our role and the procedures. So really the community can understand what we would be doing. It's not for the help of the building team, I presume they know. Let's say nothing really changed, but just more information. Go again, Jim.
And I'm presuming this one is a long drop, is it?
The picture rather than the policy, yes. Probably. Carl.
Yeah, but,
for the detail.
Right.
You go from there.
Oh,
incidentally, just in case you haven't spotted in your inboxes, I did email you a copy of the draft policy. That's just in case it hadn't been sent last week. So,
can I just ask a question about that? I've got it open now.
Yeah.
There seems to be a couple of different font sizes used in that file that was sent through. Are the larger fonts the changes?
It's probably just we haven't gone through and formatted it properly yet because it's still draft. The changes I see, because I've got it open here, the changes are tracked. The font sizes may be that we've just copied in from another document elsewhere, so that's probably all it is.
Did you say the changes are track and traced? Because they're not showing.
Sometimes we only show people that I can
Right.
go back to what we had.
Whoops, that's, sorry.
Option down here, yeah, button, it's this open.
No, there isn't.
Yeah, there is, yeah. And then it shows up.
Yeah, it was the Word version I sent, so that
Right, got it.
you've
Thank you.
got it. Okay,
Yeah,
right.
the trick is to
So
open Word.
So you'll see the track. So any differences in font is probably just that we've not been through and formatted everything as yet. This is a working draft.
This makes a lot more sense now.
Yes, I thought it might. Okay, come.
Excellent. Okay, well, most of the changes are largely either cosmetic or just adding further information to what was already existing. The previous versions of this policy have been very much a cut and paste pretty much of what the Act says, and weren't particularly helpful to staff or customers in terms of how we might actually go about performing some of those tasks. So really no substantive change from that point of view. So looking at clause 5, yet we've simply swapped clauses 5.1 and 5.2 around. In our view, they make more sense that you'd identify what's dangerous first and then start looking at what your powers might be afterwards. And then the addition of 5.5, which simply really a common sense clause in there that we would start dealing with owners first and not deal straight into our enforcement and notice issuing powers, which is generally how we work in this space. The related legislation has just been updated to take out some things that have been amended and other changes in there. And you'll notice with a lot of policies, this one, dog control policy and others, we're specifically adding references to what happens in state of emergency. So there's consistency across different legislation. Should there be emergencies in place, which powers take priority.
This is the photograph that if you're wondering what an affected building is, it's those on the right that are affected by the big one.
So again, section 7 is really just an update, clarifying some wording there, a couple of grammatical corrections. Again, ensuring that we'll be working with the building owners first. And then there was a requirement in the Act that wasn't well presented in the original policy about how we'll deal with heritage buildings under the policy. So a couple of paragraphs there, being a bit more specific in that regard. And then it's just a quick reword of the immediate danger 7.5 paragraph, just to specifically reflect what the Act does say. So the Act didn't refer to health hazard as an example, it refers to safety. So just making sure that our terminology is correct there. Success. And then procedures. So this is the section that's probably had the most changes, again, just in with the aim of trying to be a little more specific how we will go about administering these functions, how we'll undertake inspections, who will do them, how we'll work with the owners to do that, and then flowing through to determining what the priority issues are.
All righty.
Easy peasy.
Sorry. So steps.
Yeah, clause 8's very long. That's why you thought there was another one.
Yeah. So, and then the next steps, please. Is that, sorry, we're clicking the button at the same time, me and Joe. and suddenly it started working on mine. Our thoughts are that we'd like to get this through and adopted sooner rather than later. There's a limit to how long we can keep this under review. So we're thinking to actually bring a report and statement of proposal to the next meeting of this committee, 1st of August. special consultative procedure means we need the month-long consultation, so August, September. Probably not going to go particularly big on it, probably not. How many of these buildings have we had to deal with, Carl?
I knew someone was going to ask me that question.
I can remember two.
Yeah, I was going to say very, very few. There's a number where we've worked through the consultation with the owner and we haven't got to the issuing of the notice. I can remember one maybe in the last 3 years, which was a dwelling where they'd excavated underneath the concrete foundation slab for illicit activities. And I think one commercial building that had a notice issue that was later rectified. So no, certainly not very many.
Okay.
It's not big, but it's important when a case comes
It's
up.
important when we need it. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So-
So we thought submissions, and hearings and deliberations, and it might even be that we can even adopt on that same October date.
Okay.
So,
All right. Well, I guess once we've got the statement of proposal, we can and go out for consultation, become pretty clear where we're at. Any questions of Graham or Carl? Looks very straightforward, I think. Everyone's happy? Excellent. Thank you. Done. All right, we'll move on to the next item then, which is our accommodation strategy project.